what my prediction is for next year, 2023, what I think about certain topics such as interest rates, where the interest rates I believe will be next year, what I believe will start happening, and also the different property markets, different states throughout Australia, what I believe they will be going through in terms of whether they're going to be going up, down, or side to side in terms of the rough percentages. Hey guys, it's Eddie here from Dilleen Property, and I wanted to do a real quick video today to explain and share with you what my prediction is for next year, 2023, what I think about certain topics such as interest rates, where the interest rates I believe will be next year, what I believe will start happening, and also the different property markets, different states throughout Australia, what I believe they will be going through in terms of whether they're going to be going up, down, or side to side in terms of the rough percentages. So these are just my predictions. Bear in mind, as always, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a mortgage broker myself or any of that stuff. But as you know, I have lots of investment property experience. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I own over 50 investment properties myself, and I've bought well over 1,000 properties for clients, and throughout the years, and been part of over 1,000 transactions. So let's jump into it. The first thing I want to talk to you about is interest rates. So as you are well aware, I'm sure interest rates over the past 6 to 12 months have gone up again and again quite considerably. Right now, as of making this video, it is going into mid-October right now. And I personally believe we are probably at the very close to the top of where interest rates will rise. I believe they might have probably maybe one more increase, and it might only be by 0.25% when they do get together to make that decision again. Or it's going to stick around this side. So either go up, another 25 basis points, or it'll be around that. But I don't predict it'll go higher than that. And further to that, for the following year, going into 2023, my forecast is the end quarter of 2023. So literally, I'd say between October to December of 2023, I predict that the interest rates will come down a very small fraction. And going into 2024, they will start to come down, at least 2 to 3 times as well. And why do I predict that? Throughout the research and the time that I've been investing, and bear in mind, I started investing, I believe it was around 2009, give or take. So that I've been investing for, 13, 14 years now, roughly. Back then, it was during the GFC. Interest rates, they went up as well. They were around 7 to sometimes 8%. I think one of the interest rates I was originally getting was about 8%. And throughout history, going back studying the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years of interest rates and what's happened, usually after a period of time where interest rates have risen, 2 or 3 or 4, jumped up that amount of time in such a short period, generally it's followed by a flat period to the side, and then usually it'll start to retract and come down a little bit. Usually there's about a 12-month to 24-month period where they'll be at the very peak. And then usually something may happen. There's talks about a recession happening. It could be hypothetically the next GFC or whatever it is. But something will happen where they'll have to retract and pull back interest rates. And I predict that will be happening at the very end of 2023, going into mid 2024. So that's my prediction about interest rates. I believe overall, right now, I'm seeing interest rates that we're picking up for some clients ranging between 5% to 6%. I'd probably say those are the rough interest rates at the moment. Now, obviously, it can be a lot lower for owner occupiers. Some owner occupiers can still get the low 4s and things like that, but we're talking about for investment property purposes. And bearing in mind your interest rate, it depends on what deposit you do. So if you do a 5% or a 10%, your interest rate is going to be higher than someone else's interest rate if they were to do a 20%. So your interest rates obviously gets higher the higher your LVR gets with the loan that you do. I believe they're going to come, if they're at between 5 and 6, I believe they're going to come down to around that kind of very high 3s to 5s mark. So let's say between 4 and 5, I believe they're going to come down late 2023 to 2024, about a whole percent. So instead, if they're as an example, hypothetically 5.5 now, I believe they're going to come down to about that 4.5 mark between 2023 to 2024. That's my prediction. Moving on, the next prediction that I have, I'm going to go through and talk to just about a few different states that I personally invest in and where I believe they are headed over the next 12 months going into 2023 and beyond. In terms of capital growth in different states, if we were to talk about Queensland, now bear in mind when you hear these statistics from various media sources such as realestate.com and Domain and things like that, they literally lump generally a whole state into one category. But bear in mind, Queensland has hundreds of different locations. You've got metro locations, regional areas, all that kind of stuff. So take obviously these percentages with a grain of salt, but I believe the metropolitan areas of Brisbane over the next 12 months will generally see between 2 to 5% of capital growth. Now there's metro locations such as Brisbane, and the main Brisbane kind of regions. There's different factors involved with this. When you look at, I predict this happens between the sub levels of property prices between the $200,000 mark to $500,000 mark. Unfortunately, with your standard statistics that, again, real estate and Domain and various things, they kind of lump all the property prices together, such as properties that worth 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 500K and 400K. But right now I'm talking about the properties between 200 to 550, 600,000. That's the lower to the medium range. I believe we're going to see over the next 12 months between 2 to 5% on average of capital growth in the next 12 months throughout Queensland. We're going to see the same thing in Adelaide, because Adelaide market also is one of the hottest markets right now in October 2022. It's almost impossible to get stock. There's 20 to 30 buyers for every single property. High levels of investor interest and also high levels of owner-occupier interest, especially in Adelaide and Brisbane. So those are the top two states that I'm buying in right now. Also predict that Perth will probably jump up the same amount, between 3 to 5% over the next 12 months. Perth, a state that I haven't personally got in yet, but I do want to start buying a lot of properties in Perth to diversify my portfolio in that location as well. Sydney and Melbourne, the next 12 months, look, interest rates play a big part in this, but as you may or may not be aware, Sydney and Melbourne, especially the metropolitan kind of areas, they've kind of gone backwards. Some areas have dropped back between 5 and 10%. So some pretty big drops in Sydney and Melbourne. I personally predict over the next 12 months that we're probably going to see another 3% drop over the next 12 months on average between Sydney and Melbourne. Now, bear in mind, this can be higher drops in higher priced properties, because generally from my experience, the higher end of the properties always have more volatility. Properties between 1.5 to 3 million, they can easily come back. And I've seen that with some higher end properties that I've kept my eyes on in the Sydney market. Properties that would have sold for 6 million are now selling for 5.1, 5.2. So they're dropping back a pretty considerable amount, because the interest rates obviously play a massive part in that of what people can actually afford. But again, properties between 300, 500, 600, more people can afford that always have less volatility in it. So those are my predictions. Hope this video helps. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, comment below. Please hit subscribe right now. Subscribe to the channel for more updates, and we'll keep the videos coming. Bye for now.